Ladies and gentlemen, Marji Ross, president of Regnery.
Hello, good afternoon. Wasn't that terrific? God, he is amazing. He's wonderful. He is. Well, I'm Marji Ross. I'm president of Regnery Publishing, and we have a treat for you. We have a little bit of a change of pace for you. If this is your first time tuning in to The Right View, I think you're going to enjoy it. Just like the ladies of The View, we are going to dissect the headlines for you, but unlike those other View chicks, I think what we are going to give is the right view. So let's bring on our panelists. Coming on, we've got 4 wonderful panelists for you. They should be coming any minute. S.E. Cupp, come on out. Michelle Duggar, Star Parker, and Kate Obenshain. Thanks. All right, we're moving over to our living room over here. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you all very much. Now, we all know, sadly, that millions of women every week watch The View. I know. And think of all the people that had their opinions shaped by the politically correct views of Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg and my personal favorite, Joy Behar. I know. But as insightful and compassionate as those women are, I found a few episodes of The View that I think might be in need of a little reinterpretation. So what we're going to do for you today is we're going to play a few clips from The View, and then we're going to try to set the record straight on what they are. So let's start with clip number 1, if we could.
You know, last night, President Obama gave his State of the Union address.
It was a campaign speech. It was a speech to the Republicans in Congress and about divisiveness. This is when he talked about if they could all work together, why can't this country work together? But it was very effective and upbeat, and perhaps the most emotional moment was when the president was coming in and bent over to hug Gabby Gifford, you know, because she resigned from Congress, and it was a very sweet, look at that, it was really a very, very sweet, you know, and she officially resigned today,
the speech was equivalent to Ronald Reagan's Morning in America speech, which was about the one world, and I think that Republicans can embrace him because of Ronald Reagan. It's very similar to that. It's positive, it's optimistic. He actually believes that they're going to cooperate with him. You think Republicans embrace that? From his mouth to God's ears, they should start cooperating and get this country going and stop this gridlock because it's not patriotic.
All right, so I'm not sure that I necessarily see the link between Barack Obama's State of the Union and Ronald Reagan, but
you don't? First of all, Allen West for president, right? I know. Second, having worked with the lovely and refined Ms. Behar before, I've done her show, the show she doesn't have anymore.
Right.
I did that show. I've been on The View, I have to, full disclosure. She's always been very nice to me, but let's not gloss over the fact this is a woman who said it would be child abuse to teach creation to your kids, to teach the Bible to your kids. So I'm not sure giving Ms. Behar the respect of analyzing her words is the best. I mean, I think she's off the reservation. That said, surprise, surprise, they love Reagan when comparing him to Obama.
Right, exactly. What did they say about him?
When not comparing him to Obama, he is, you know, the last thing between civilization and the Visigoths. You know, he is...
Exactly.
Right. So, surprise, surprise, they love Reagan now, and surprise, surprise, they loved the State of the Union, which had to be one of the worst examples of pulling this country together that I have ever seen. First of all, the State of the Union was a speech that was bookended on both ends by foreign policy accomplishments, right? Because that's the only good thing Obama has to talk about. All the middle stuff was crap. It was lies. It glossed over the huge, colossal, controversial mistakes that this administration has made in a very short period of time.
But what do you think about him being the, you know, also compared to Ronald Reagan, the great communicator? You know, his powers of persuasion and speech.
Right, I'm not giving him a pass on comparing Barack Obama to Ronald Reagan. I can't imagine any president less like President Ronald Reagan than Barack Obama.
Amen.
I mean, when you look, I found it appalling and offensive because what they want to paint Ronald Reagan is this grandfatherly, kind, good communicator. Right. Okay, President Reagan inherited arguably a worse economic situation than Barack Obama did. And what did he do? He unleashed the power of the free market. He pulled government back. Right. And again, finally, we had mourning in America. Barack Obama did the exact opposite. He increased taxes, increased regulation, increased that arm of government, a pernicious arm of government that just robs us of all genuine hope and opportunity. And for Joy Behar to sit up there and try to lecture us on who Ronald Reagan was, I was offended.
Well, can I also just say, my other favorite gal pal from The View, Al Sharpton, has a new Blueberry Pie commercial out for MSNBC in which he talks about Reagan and trickle-down economics and compares trickle-down economics to slavery. Yeah, slavery. I mean, the opinions.
Well, let's to Ronald Reagan. When you mentioned ideas of slavery, when you mentioned Ronald Reagan and what happened when he was the president. When he was the president of this country, although he did inherit a horrible economy, he moved more African Americans into the middle class than in the history of this country.
Exactly.
As opposed to Barack Obama, who has put more people on government dependency, more people on food stamps, and is a dismal failure, even to blacks. 96% of African Americans voted for this president. The last Gallup poll last week, he's down to 79% approval ratings within this country. When black folks say enough of this, he better be a much better communicator to get more folks to buy into his expansion of government.
You are absolutely right. Excellent. All right. We're not going to lose any time here. We're going to tee up another headline from the past week that you may have heard about, a little controversy, and see what the girls on The View had to say about Susan G. Komen and Planned Parenthood. Can we play clip number 2?
You know, the leading breast cancer charity, the Susan G. Komen for the Cure Foundation, has cut ties with Planned Parenthood because they're being investigated for improperly using public money to pay for abortions. Now, the Komen Foundation says their policy bars them from associating with organizations under investigation. I will point out they have been working very closely for many, many years, and under a new policy, the policy is that we can't associate ourselves with people who are being investigated.
But they do not, they do not object per se to Planned Parenthood. What they say is they have to stay away from any organization that's being investigated.
Sure, so, it's being politicized. What happens with that, Barbara? Right, go ahead.
Okay. First of all, in case you don't know what Planned Parenthood is, because we all hear the name, it is the nation's leading sexual and reproductive health care provider and advocate. The whole thing here, the reason they are being investigated, and it started with the Republican congressman, is that they do counsel on abortion.
Yes,
but
3%.
They do not use federal money, and that's what the whole thing is about. Right. They also give you sex education. They provide contraception, they provide cancer screening and prevention, they have family practice services, they have gynecologists. They do not use federal money, no matter how many times they say that. This is what
This is becoming fake in a way, but the president and the CEO and the vice president of Komen are both Republicans too. Which they like to say they're not political, but hello.
But this is my. But no, it's
not about abortion. This is about
but
it
is, darling. It is. It really is, because abortion, as you know, has been under fire for years and years and years. Several different shows on several different networks have sort of pointed out the fact, including our friend Bill O'Reilly on his show, made it about abortion. The woman he was speaking to made it about abortion. This has been going on forever. That's why I'm so upset about this, because the Susan Komen Foundation has been really good partners with Planned Parenthood.
Right. All right. So, Whoopi's upset that this great partnership between Planned Parenthood and Susan G. Komen is in jeopardy. So, Michelle, go ahead.
I want to set the record straight. Okay, there are federal tax dollars being spent with Planned Parenthood. And
Absolutely.
I am appalled that they would even try to state that that is not the case.
Right.
And I feel like the Susan Komen took back what they had said. They are now going back with Planned Parenthood.
Political pressure.
And I'm sad to say that if people give to an organization with the hopes that they're going to further research and helping women to overcome breast cancer, that to see that organization would give money to another organization that is the leading organization that performs abortions in our country. It is ludicrous to think that we would stand by and just say, no, this appalls me. I can barely sit still for this.
But they have been a fraud for a long time, because what they've been is exposed. They should not have had a partnership with Planned Parenthood, granted. But you know that they're a fraud. You know that they're a fraud because there are some doctors and some scientists that say that there is a relationship between abortion and breast cancer. And yet this particular organization, both of those organizations, they will not acknowledge this. They will not look into it. They will not say, why is it that since we've had Roe v. Wade as national law and we've killed 50 million children, we're starting to see increases in breast cancer? So both of them are fraud. And if I were giving to them at all, or ever have, I would pull that money, and any one of us that are conservatives don't give to either one of them anymore and keep the pressure on the default Planned Parenthood.
Also, I think it should be pointed out, the statistic that most people on the left often use when it comes to Planned Parenthood is this figure of 3%. 3% of what they do goes toward efforting at abortions. According to their own annual report from last year, they performed 329,000 abortions. That's 1,000 a day. That's nearly 1,000 abortions a day. That is not a small number.
Right, and then to suggest that they actually provide health care screenings and health care services and trying to turn it into this providing health care services for women when they outsource most of those anyway is yet another fraud that they're perpetrating. And I just want to say, Margie, you get a free pass into heaven for watching these episodes to be able to pick them. My children came running when they heard me screaming at the TV when I had to watch this. Because it was as you all know, it is a nightmare to sit here and watch these women. Do not let your friends watch this television show. This needs to be awful. This is awful.
Exactly. I'm going to tell you one more thing, though.
And Elizabeth Hasselbeck deserves a free pass into heaven. God bless that woman.
And on our side, though, I tell you, we have history on our side because we have ultrasound. And when you start looking at what ultrasound is doing, women are changing their mind. And I have to remind us that up until the 1800s, only 2% of Americans actually owned slaves, but we still got rid of slavery. Even when we get to the point where abortion is no longer in this country because women are saying no, we are still going to overturn Roe v. Wade. They have a fight on their hand if they think we're going to give up on this.
They do. That's right. But You know, it's a fight we have to fight. Because shows like this, I mean, think of what Barbara Walters did. She gave a huge free ad for Planned Parenthood. She was like the reading out of their brochure when she was telling what they were doing. And that's what so many women who aren't political, who don't really pay that close attention, are getting as the official view.
That's why we have to get our truth out, because liberals buy that lie. I bought that lie. And many of you know my story. I ended up in a clinic after clinic having an abortion by believing that lie. They target the black community, they target minorities, and now they're going after everyone. When you think about sterilization and all of the rest of this stuff that they're trying to push down the throats of American people, conservatives will win because we still have our children. And like one of my pastors said a long time ago, we win if we just keep having children because we're going to outnumber them. That's why you got 19.
There we go.
You had 19 children.
Important to understand, even the founder of Planned Parenthood was so against. I mean, talking about racist.
She was a eugenicist.
And I am like, to even get behind anything like that, it just breaks my heart.
Your children, you have 19.
Yes, and I'm like, watch 19 kids and counting. You'll be encouraged. It's not going to be a sad show to watch. And the fact that you enjoy life and you realize what a precious gift life is. And you don't take for granted not 1 minute. And I think, I tell my children, and I feel like if I can get these two things into their lives, I think our whole world would be a better place to live if we focused on two things. And it's the things that the Lord Jesus said. Number one, you love God with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. And number two, you love others, and you look for ways to serve other people around you, and that's what's going to make a difference in abortion. I don't think there's going to be a change in our country. And in the hearts of the people, it's got to start in the hearts of the people. And as we love, and we reach out to those women that are in crisis pregnancies and share with them that there is another way. You don't have to be scared to death. You don't have to go down that path. There are people that will stand beside you and walk with you and help you. And so that is the message that we need to be getting out. And that there is hope, and that there's really, it is, and I'm so encouraged to see these young people at CPAC. There is hope for our nation, conservatives that are getting involved. I have so much encouraging hope here.
Right. You know, we don't have a TV contract yet, but we've got the right view. So that's what we're trying to do. All right. I'm going to move us on to another headline that embroiled one of our top candidates in the past week and a half or so. And the View ladies just love to jump on an opportunity to attack, of course, one of the leading Republican presidential candidates. So take a look at clip number 3.
Mitt Romney didn't have much time to enjoy his win in Florida. He's been under fire for making these comments on the campaign trail yesterday. Take a look.
I'm in this race because I care about Americans. I'm not concerned about the very poor. We have a safety net there. If it needs a repair, I'll fix it. I'm not concerned about the very rich. They're doing just fine. I'm concerned about the very heart of America, the 90-95% of Americans who right now are struggling, and I'll continue to take that message across the nation.
I guess the poor and the rich are not the heart of America.
I do think that the problem here is that what he said is actually not that bad. It's like saying, okay, I understand we've got mold in the main floor of our home. Mm-hmm. I know the attic's okay. I know that we've got all systems go are set in the basement. Hang on. But we need to fix the mold right here, right now, so things don't get worse. If things get bad in the basement, where there's a safety net right now, and that is true in this country, thank goodness we have that.
But Elizabeth,
there are lips in it, but he said he will do. There was a promise in there. Why aren't we listening to the promise? He will do what is necessary to fix that.
I looked something up. The Tax Policy Center said that Romney's tax plan would increase taxes on low-income families and cut taxes for the middle class and the rich. So he's not concerned about the poor if he's going to increase taxes on the poor.
And then
how do you compute that?
Okay.
I have to look. I think every American has to sit here and look at what the tax situation is going to be. Certainly, what's been going on right now hasn't been helping, and I also expect more from a liberal opposition to Mitt Romney right now. This is a very level-headed financial man speaking about finances, and I would hope that should he go on to the general election, that the Obama campaign wouldn't exploit a snippet like this for their gain. I would hope they would. I expect more from my president. That's all I'm saying.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I did. When you say the ceiling and the floor, okay, I assume the poor people are the floor. If you or Mitt Romney think that a safety net for the poor, which is food stamps and welfare, that's a safety net,
what would we
somebody
do about
is disillusioned. No, because, you know, that is not a... You know what, let me tell you something. Poor people are just... I sat on my hands while you talk. I sat on my hands. But I'm saying poor people, that's not a safety net. Food stamps and welfare. They're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. They want to get a better situation as well. So if you go the floor, you're fine. You got a safety net. If you think that's a safety net, then you are out of touch.
Oh, God. I know.
That's exactly
yeah,
right.
Exactly. Go
We're
ahead.
going to put her on the campaign trail for our side. She's arguing against the safety net. She's trying to say exactly what we've been saying for years. The poor are not poor because the wealthy are wealthy. Now, we can't expect much more from Romney, I suppose, because we are working on moving him more to the right. He's a liberal right now. And so, of course, that's how he feels. But that said, two things.
Yes.
The challenge in our country today in the middle class is the size and scope of government.
Absolutely.
We can look into any inner city in this country and see the damage that has been done by the welfare state. What we're seeing today is that all Americans are on the welfare state, thanks to Barack Obama and his administration. They've been dragging us in this. So the next president of the country is going to help the poor by having them adopt the values of this country. The values of this country are freedom and personal responsibility, number one. If you want to know why the wealthy work, poor people are not poor because wealthy people are wealthy. The reason and the difference today is in family makeup. When you start thinking about what marriage does as a social stabilizer so that kids can get educated, so that they can be economically stable, this is the answer to poverty in this country. But the main point I want to make... I suppose that's about all the point that I should make. Because, you know, this is my subject of expertise, so I can go on for hours about what they said. But the main point that I want to make is about this tax code. When we as Americans are now looking at 47% don't have any skin in the game, you're darn right we want them to have skin in the game. You're darn right. Now, if you want to talk about reforms in tax policy, and this is the biggest problem I have with this administration when they start talking about fair share, then why aren't we hearing discussions about either a flat tax, a consumption tax? I think that one of the reasons that 999 got so much attention is because everybody had to pay it.
That's exactly right.
I think it was Nancy Pelosi who assured us that the best stimulus project that we could possibly have was increasing the number of Americans on food stamps.
Yes, she did.
And it's that you have to wonder at some point, is this intentional? What are you thinking? I know it, and that's the founders told us that we do need to fear for our liberty when the majority of Americans become in some way dependent on government.
Right.
And we are facing a crisis in that point. And the only other point I'd like to make to this is you hear some Republicans, some folks on our side saying, oh, let's pick the most moderate candidate because then the left won't attack him as much. The media will find him more palatable.
Right.
Well, this is what's going to happen. No matter who we nominate, we need to be ready for it. Taking it out of context, and they're going to go after somebody in the middle or on the left every time just as much as they go after anyone else.
Their disdain is for Republicans, and they don't care how liberal they are.
They
Well, the other amazing thing, because I had to cut this down a little bit, and I know.
Thank you.
And part of it was a real laugh out loud when Barbara Walters and Joy Behar started to criticize Mitt Romney for how much money he makes. And I'm thinking, could we see your tax returns, please? I'm thinking you're not on The View for free. You're not giving speeches for free. So it's an incredible double standard that they've got going on.
I know. Every time they say that Republicans don't care about the poor, I want to drag them to the homeless shelter because all the data shows us that the people that go to church on a regular basis are Republican. And the people that are Republicans are the ones that are working in our homeless shelters. They're in our crisis pregnancy centers. They are the ones educating our children. That's America. That's America. Don't tell me we're not working.
That's right.
That's right. And especially, and I'm going to make another point for these left-wing liberals, especially when you talk about what Planned Parenthood abortion is doing in our communities. These thousands of crisis pregnancy centers that are now all over the country being run by decent people in quiet communities just doing the work of the Lord. 90% of their clients are these hard-head, hard-hit that keep voting for this left-wing social engineering that is keeping them on this government poverty plantation.
That's our job. That's what we got to do.
We're the ones that do social justice. We're the ones helping the poor. I'm not tired of these folks, I'll tell you. Are you going to make us watch another clip?
There's one more. There's one more.
This one's
And
good.
I
This
saved,
one's good.
oh my God. I saved possibly the most infuriating one for last, and I also saved it because as women, as the real feminists, in my opinion, conservative women who celebrate what women are, I couldn't resist the clip of Joy Behar interviewing her mentor. Take a look.
My mentor is a woman who showed me and an entire generation that women didn't have to settle for anything less than the life they wanted. Please welcome the beautiful, the talented, the mover, the shaker, Gloria Steinem. Gloria, it's so great to have you here today. And you see that you influenced me and so many women, you probably don't even realize it.
But I really owe Matilda Cuomo a lot because you never told me this. I mean, I'm her fan, right? She never told me that I was her mentor.
No. Well,
It's
you
so
were
exciting
busy,
to find out.
You were busy saving women. You didn't have time to hear my story. But I'm telling you today because I remember back in the day, about 1970, not that I want to date myself, but, you know, I was trapped at exit 60 off the LIE. With a baby, it was the winter, you know, I was thinking, well, this is it. I did everything I was supposed to do. I got married, I got a degree, and I had a baby. Now what? Now what? I didn't, and I was funny all the time. And along comes Gloria and the feminist movement. And basically the message was, you can do what you have to pursue your passion. You've got to get out there and be what you want to be. It's great to have a family, but you can have more.
Oh my gosh, okay, I have this baby, now what do I do?
I don't know.
Maybe
Give
raise
it to somebody else.
raise the baby? That's what we do, right? Oh my gosh. You know, if you were out there saving women, okay, I just have to address that. Nobody has done more to damage women, to damage marriage, to damage really the fabric, the essence of what we are as a nation than the radical feminist movement with this woman at the head. If you know, all of a sudden she is all about helping women have good marriages, have good men. This is the woman who said a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And the feminist movement and the National Organization of Women is a completely bankrupt institution. If you look at 2010, National Organization of Women says that its #1 goal is to have parity in the Congress, to have equal numbers of men and women in the Congress. You tell me why in 2010 the National Organization did not endorse a single woman Republican running for office, but instead endorsed the men running against the Republican women. Completely bankrupt. Our women won, I think, because of it in large part. But instead, it is conservative women, with the help of groups like the Claire Booth Loose Policy Institute, which we all are involved with. Michelle Easton's wonderful we are loose ladies. I'm proud of it. LUCE. Okay.
Loose ladies.
On the calendar, so forget
That's in the calendar. Get the Claire Booth Loose calendar. But it's people like Michelle Easton she is promoting Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann and Nikki Haley and the great conservative women who are out there giving women an alternative, saying, hey, we're not going to write women off and just let the left take them. We present a positive alternative, what it is to be a more strong, dynamic, confident conservative women. And I just thank all the great conservative women who stand up there and put themselves up for some real brutal treatment by the left, by the media. And I'm very grateful for people like Marji Ross and all these brave women up here, and women like Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann, who have been just leaders in helping with Me Too.
And you know, the thing that really worries me when I watch The View are the young women who watch. Because there are a lot of young girls, college, and young adult women who watch The View and think, just like Joy Behar thought that Gloria Steinem was her role model, they think those women are sticking up for them, and they're doing the opposite. That's what's so upsetting.
It is important that our youth come to CPAC so that they get married. They meet their future spouse who has the same values, and then they have children. Because when you think about marriage, there are two things that stabilize our society to keep us free and healthy. One is marriage, because there's accountability, and the other is a whole lot of money in your pocket because you want to keep it. So the ideals are on our side. We win in the end.
That's right.
Right. And I feel like in our country, strong families is where it's at. It's the backbone of our country. And as we strengthen our families by lower taxes, less government, all of the things that we hold to here, like I said again, I am so encouraged to see these young people here. It is the hope of our future for our nation.
And it's so much fun as a parent, right?
Yes.
To share those things with your kids.
Our children.
All of us
Yes,
who have kids.
definitely.
That's one of the most important things we do, is provide an alternative, provide some sensible role models and guidance for our young daughters and sons, so that they understand that this view is, and grandchildren, thank you very much, several generations. Because ultimately, that's a rear view. That's what I call it, the rear view. It's looking back.
That's right. Going into the future.
And that, right?
And we're going to have a wonderful 2012 and 2013.
And getting
because
those kids
we are going to take control of the Senate.
Right?
We're going to take control of the White House. And we're going to put the proper policies in place to get this country back on track.
Exactly.
That's what we're going to do.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank all my View co-hosts. I appreciate your joining me and giving some food for thought on the headlines of the day and giving a good, sensible alternative to The View by providing everyone with the right view. Thank you very much.